All right. Well, thanks for joining me. And Stephen, it's great to see you again, and excited to be working with you on this search. I just thought I'd begin by having you tell me a little bit about the college and your experience at Menlo, and for someone who's never been there, what it would be like if they were to be walking the grounds.
Sure. Thanks, Gabe. Uh, the the experience I had coming to Menlo may be informative and helpful for people who don't know our college to hear. Uh, I'm in my 10th year at Menlo. So first and foremost, I'm clearly voting with my feet in terms of having found an institution for which I have tremendous passion and which I believe still has tremendous potential that we can still realize, even though it's grown and changed in terrific ways over this past decade. I came to Menlo with experience at only very large uh, a very large school. I also had a non-educational background in my professional career, but the university I had been part of, which was a 16-year stint, was somewhere between 12 and 14,000 in the time I was there, which I didn't think of as that big at the time. And looking at Menlo from the outside in, I actually worried about whether it would be a fit because the university that I had experience with was large, had graduate programs, professional schools. Menlo at this point in time is solely an undergraduate institution and very small by any measure, around 800 and, well, last fall, 826 students to be precise. Uh, the and yet, what I had discovered in coming to Menlo is the very special characteristics that I found resonate with me, and that I hope, Gabe, you'll help me find someone for whom those special characteristics will also be very meaningful. First of all, because of its size, it's an incredibly close community. There is no one who works for Menlo College in any capacity who doesn't know many of our students. In an administrative role such as the one that I have and the one that I started at Menlo in, uh, I I feel incredibly fortunate because I do know so many of our students, and I feel like I'm part of their journey through this institution, which I'll tell you makes commencement very often a bittersweet affair because there are people whose lives you've been part of, and you've watched these people grow and mature, and sometimes act out in ways that maybe you wouldn't have wanted, um, but nonetheless you feel connected with them, and when it's time for them to leave and go on their way, it's, as I say usually quite bittersweet. But the institution does something particularly wonderful, which is that it's a meeting place for people from so many varied backgrounds. And my usual line is Menlo College attracts one of the more diverse groups of students you find in any one campus. And most people consider diversity as racial and ethnic diversity, and we absolutely check both of those boxes. We're majority minority, federal designations of both Hispanic serving institution and Asian American, Native American Pacific Islander serving institution, which, by the way, only 1% of colleges and universities have two minority serving designations, and we're one of them. But we also hit the diversity boxes that are otherwise defined. It's geographic diversity because we attract students from all over the world and all over this country. Economic diversity. We have students whose families are incredibly fortunate economically, and we have students whose families struggle. We serve a lot of first generation students, uh, and we also support students whose walks of life are quite varied, including students who've grown up in the foster system here in this state. So it is very much a melting pot, and it's an opportunity for all of us to learn from each other, and that's where the size becomes such an important aspect. Uh, we have connected our star to Silicon Valley, in that the education we provide students and the doors that we open for our students enable them, should they wish, to join the Silicon Valley workforce after they graduate. And most of our students do go directly into the workforce. But that's bringing Silicon Valley into our classroom and bringing our students into Silicon Valley as part of their 4-year journey and part of the specialness about Menlo College. And our students graduate ready to hit the workforce and contribute. And a smaller number of our students pursue graduate programs. It's a long answer to a short question. I'm going to stop there.
It's great. It paints a great picture. And one of the things you said in that great answer, you talked about the potential of the college, and you used also like the term opportunity. So when you think about this role right now, why is this role important for the college vis-a-vis its potential and where you see it headed?
Yeah, it's a great question. Uh, we've been without a CFO for most of the pandemic. The pandemic, as was true for just about every college and university around the world, the pandemic hit us hard, and it was a time to husband our resources to make sure that we could come through the pandemic in as strong a position as possible. And I think that is exactly what happened. In fact, compared to most schools, we fared much better whether either with respect to finances or with respect to enrollment. Of course, those are closely aligned at a school like ours. But we are now at a juncture where we're seeing the momentum that we had been enjoying right up until the onset of the pandemic research. It looks like we're going to have a record-setting number of new students this fall. We have a record number of applications and a record number of commits year to date, and I don't see any reason that won't translate in 3 months' time to a record number of new students, which is terrific. Uh, it also aligns with the opening of our new residence hall, which is a very important milestone for us, and one in which we need to move forward with very carefully in terms of understanding how best to position our rates with respect to new students as we continue to grow enrollment, and whether we are positioning ourselves in the market uh, appropriately is another key question where the CFO will be important. Our sticker price is very high, and we're currently, because it's done so far in advance, we're now at this month's board meeting setting our tuition for fall of 23, and we'll be over 50,000 at that point as for tuition, and then housing, room and board, books are all in addition to that. So it's a sobering figure to go out there with, particularly young people whose families aren't supporting them or don't have the wherewithal to support them. Now, we make it possible for students of limited means to attend Menlo College because we provide a lot of support, and we package together for those who really aren't financially needy sources like Pell Grant and Cal Grant and institutional support to make it possible. Nonetheless, it's clear to me we're losing students who just can't conceive that we can put together a package that would make it possible now when our tuition is just under 50, and depending upon what happens with inflation, once we cross that $50,000 figure, that becomes another issue. Some schools have reduced tuition and reduced aid. That sounds easy on the surface, but is a complicated set of questions where the CFO will become so key to help us navigate. If it's the right thing for us to do, how do we do it? How do we position it it's a whole different exercise with continuing students versus new students. How do we ensure that we are sending a message to our prospective students and their families that we're not in desperate straits, which so often if you slash prices, it's a fire sale, right? That's not the message we want to send. So whole set of questions where the CFO will play such a central role. We also have been on the same course system for well, longer than I've been here, about 12 years now. And it'll be important for us to evaluate whether our core system is optimal for us. My bias is it's not. And that a CFO is going to be very important for working with our IT folks to figure out whether there's a better solution for us, and if so, how we will make that journey. And it's one I want the CFO to be front and center on, because I want to be a little removed from it. Uh, we are also uh, about to launch our first graduate programs. They'll start in the fall of 23. So the coming year is one in which we will be setting the tuition, figuring out how we will structure the support staff for those graduate programs. So that'll be another key area where the CFO will be instrumental. We've also created new leadership roles and or um, replacing few people who are retiring, that will be um, kind of important partners for the CFO to ensure that collectively we continue to form a leadership team that links arms and moves forward in a coordinated way. Uh, and then more generally, uh, the last 2.5 years, if anything, have taught me that we need to be prepared for the unforeseen. And I've felt acutely the absence of a CFO for the last 2.5 years, and want someone who is in place, who can help us navigate whatever the next bump in the road is going to be, because there will be some. The CFO here has a seat at the table in that regard, and will be a very important player to helping us navigate if we have nothing but clear skies ahead of us. Hallelujah. And we'll be growing, and that CFO will be a part of that growth pattern. But if there are a few rain clouds out there, or worse, the CFO will also be a key player.
And you have been that key player. I think a unique aspect of this search is that you've been in that seat. And so you know what they have to go through. And here you are now running the college. So just final question, sort of a two-parter. One, what are you looking for most in that next CFO? What will be the right partner for you? Knowing what you know about the role and what's needed for it to be successful. And I guess just two, on a very aspirational note, just for somebody who is maybe on the fence about applying or thinking about this, something just about Menlo that you feel is just going to be so welcoming and so amazing for that CFO who may not have heard of the college but would have a great time once they actually got here.
Yeah. Well, I hope the two questions have an overlapping answer, because my view is, or what I'm hoping for, is someone who will be a partner not just to me, but to the campus broadly, but in particular, of course, the leadership team. Uh, the it is truly unique to small institutions, not necessarily to just Menlo College, but to small institutions, that every person in a leadership team is very much at the table. It sounds trite, but they're every voice counts, and I do my best to listen carefully to every voice. So I'm looking for someone who is ready to contribute in all ways. There aren't hard lines around job descriptions here. Yeah, maybe that's why I'm now the CEO. I don't know. Um, it, the if the right person will be able to work collaboratively with a range of people, and will embrace the full spectrum of what Menlo College is all about. So that there is no hard line between, say, administration and academics. Not that I'm looking for someone to dabble in course design, or worry about assessment of learning outcomes, but I want someone who cares enough about education and the journey our students take to have an interest in that nonetheless. And so uh, I I tend to put a lot of myself into my job, and I'm not holding that out as the gold standard for the CFO or anyone else on the leadership team. But it means that I want also to be surrounded by people I enjoy being with, and people who challenge me in good ways. Keep emphasis on the good ways, um, and who have passions in life that will be displayed in the way they approach their jobs. So uh, for me, and this now bleeds into your second question, all that affords the opportunity for the right person. And I say right person because for them, this is an environment that they may see themselves flourish, to do just that. And again, I go back to my own journey here. When I looked from the outside in, I was I was a little suspicious about whether this would be a fit. And frankly, even when I accepted, I thought, okay, this is maybe a 2-year stint. That's about as much as a place like this could challenge me. You know, which is a statement about me that is not flattering, but I'm full disclosure. But I was clearly wrong. I did not foresee the potential and the excitement and frankly the reward, where seeing the fruits of your labor, touching something and actually seeing how it responds, and then being able to continue to modify it because you aren't, even if you're moving on to another project, the last thing you touched is still right there in the corner of your vision, because that's the size of this place. I think that will I think the right person will find that incredibly rewarding and enriching, and will enjoy seeing what they can bring to Menlo College. I look forward to it.
Well, I look forward to the rest of this process and this search. And having been on your campus many a time, I can say that it is a wonderful community, and this will be a rewarding job for the right person.
Yeah.
And so, thank you for your time, and really appreciate your thoughts here today. Thank
Thank you,
you.
Gabe. Look forward to the candidates.